InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Jennifer Stephen. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you. I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about you. Jennifer's a 30-year marketing executive with a focus on wellness and innovations, diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in 2014. Jen spends more time now as a life coach and trainer in transformational leadership. She earned an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management. Together with her husband and teenage children, Jen enjoys exploring sacred places around the world. Jen, can you tell our audience more about your life and recovery from stage 4 lung cancer?
Sure. I was a busy working mom 4 years ago, and I had had a cough and tried a lot of different treatments. That it was a while before we got around to a lung x-ray, and by then it was stage 4 lung cancer, the non-smoker type. And so that really changed a lot of things at that point. My full-time job became being healthy as I can, and I put work a little bit more on the back burner. So
Yeah.
I flipped my priorities.
Did the doctors have any clue as to what might have caused the cancer?
They don't know. And they say that it could be there for up to 15 years and before it manifests, so they don't know.
And you never
Yeah.
smoked?
No. Mm-mm.
I read an article recently about a 31-year-old woman with stage 4 lung cancer, and she said she got it through radon, which is the second leading cause of lung cancer behind smoking. So, have you ever checked your house for radon?
I'm pretty sure we have.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have, because
Okay.
we have those little monitors in there. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add about your life or recovery?
Well, one of the things that we decided was that we didn't want to rush into things. I think when people get a diagnosis that they go into the treatment that the doctor is recommending, and it could be too fast. And so I, as a researcher before this, I made sure that this was something that made sense to me. I think it's really important to partner with our doctors, and I have a whole team of medical people that I've put together over the years, and
Does your team members talk to one another?
They do.
Okay,
they do.
good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a medical researcher who looked at all the different supplements that I could take and what would be the best for this type of cancer.
How did you find a medical researcher?
Networking. Yeah, networking. He's a microbiologist, and he specifically focuses on the metabolic approach to curing cancer, which is it's based on making your body and immune system as inhospitable to the cancer cells as you possibly can with your diet and lifestyle choices.
And so what were some of the suggestions he or she gave you?
He did a ranker of all the supplements for curcumin, for example, that are shown to have an impact on not just the cancer cells themselves, but also the microenvironment around the cancer that keeps it in place. And so he ranked things, and there's some things that are regular, like Celebrex is for arthritis, but it's also what they call a COX2 inhibitor, so that affects the cancer microenvironment. So there's a lot of things that he's recommending off-label that needed to be approved by my pharmacist and my oncologist before I started taking them, but they targeted different cancer markers.
Okay. Now, I've interviewed Susie Roos. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's a cancer treatment specialist, and she spent a good deal of time traveling around the world looking at cancer treatments of other countries, of other medical systems who seem to be more advanced than the United States.
Yes, I think that's very true. One of the other people that I consulted with was a gentleman named Dr. Moss, who has cancer decisions is his business, and he does the same thing. He travels around the world and studies only things that are showing a statistically significant improvement over normal cure rates of what we're used to seeing for cancer. And the one thing that's nice is overseas they have a little bit more lenient, compassionate care laws. So if you are a stage 4 patient, you can try things that we're not allowed to try in the United States. Now, that can have a downside. It can get you into some dicey situations, but I ended up going to Vienna for a treatment that combined immunotherapy with fevering. And
What is fevering?
fever is one of the primary ways to get your immune system functioning and up to par again. And it works with the immunotherapy drugs so that your immune system is harnessed. Our immune system is the best pharmacy in the world, our specific immune system. And so if you can harness your own immune system against the cancer cells that are there, you're going a long way.
And so how did the treatment in Austria work? Did it work well?
It's hard to say. I think I've been on a genetic drug, which targets a specific marker on the cancer, so it only kills the cancer cells. And what we think, having analyzed all my scans over 4 years, is that it got me about an extra year to year and a half on the first genetic drug that I was taking, because you do tend to get used to them and their potency wears off. So I think it helped me have a much longer run on that drug. And then I was lucky enough there was a second drug coming out for the next mutation that I had just as they were finding it. So I've been statistically very lucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how has your diet and lifestyle changed since your diagnosis?
Yes, I started out vegan and pretty raw, raw juices and greens.
Was it hard for you to make that transition?
Not with something so serious.
Okay.
When I had my diagnosis, it was stage 4, and that's scary. You're not going to mess around with that. It helps me stick to my diet pretty well.
Is there a stage after 4?
No, that's it. Yeah, that means it's spreading. So I have youngish kids, a 13 and a 20-year-old, and I wanted to be around a long time to see their life milestones, and so it was very motivating. But I started on raw, and I was raw, and not completely raw, but I drank about a gallon of raw pressed juice every day for about a year and 2 months. And that's another thing that I think empowers your immune system. We cannot make new cells without the best raw materials to make them, and the juice contains the molecules of the raw materials that your body needs to make new cells, and that's how we heal. And so it enables your body to do that.
And so how are like the markers and the x-rays or the CAT scans today? Are you completely clear of cancer?
No, I have an active tumor in my shoulder. I started with 7 in my organs and, of course, the lung for lung cancer, and also 1 in my brain. And I had SBRT gamma knife surgery on the brain. And so far, right now, it looks like there's 1 active tumor in my shoulder. So I have...
But you certainly have done healing, significant healing.
Yes. And my husband always jokes, you can't stop anything that you're doing. I do a lot of things, but we don't really know what's working. When I add things, I'm usually pretty conservative about taking things out of my regimen. And going back to the diet, I'm no longer raw. And juicing. I still drink a lot of raw juice, but I am on the ketogenic diet now, which is Dr. Mercola just wrote a book about it, and that keeps your sugar levels very even in your bloodstream, and cancer is addicted to sugar. So the more you can starve the cancer of things that it lives on, the more you're putting metabolic pressure on the disease.
And the tumor that's in your shoulder, has that shrunk?
It's new since the new genetic drug that I started. I mean, that's one of the things about lung cancer. It's kind of like whack-a-mole. It shows up in lots of different places. But so far, the first places it showed up have resolved. My brain is not really showing anything new. But it's gone into my bones in some places.
Okay, and your energy, it seems like your energy level is very high, and you're very clear and focused.
Thank you. I work hard at that. I have a lot of regimens that I do to stay in a good mental state and to not indulge my fear too much. I think fear is an important part of the human experience, and it's instructive for us. But I think if you're making decisions out of fear, that can really lead to some unfortunate things. I think you have to think about your principles and your goals and what's meaningful to you when you start making these decisions.
And you mentioned you have several regimens. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. I do the daily juicing. I do fresh raw juice, and I do coffee enemas, which keeps the juice pushes toxins out of your cells, and then the enemas clean the toxins out of your body. At least that's what some research says. So I tried it. I use essential oils on the outside of my body where the tumors are.
Is there particular oils that you use?
Mostly frankincense.
Okay.
Yes, that has a good some good medical research that it helps. And I also have an energy healer, an energy doctor. So
is it a physician? Is it
no, she was an herbologist, and then she now does energy healing. So that's balancing, and the whole philosophy there is to keep your body and your meridians in balance so that your immune system can do its best job. If you have cancer, your immune system has failed in some way, so the energy medicine helps to get that immune activity back online.
Mm-hmm. Any other regimes that you're doing?
Those are the main ones, and of course my diet. I keep carbs and sugar to a very strict low.
And what about meditation and visualization?
Yes.
Please elaborate on that.
Okay. I use a lot of the Joe Dispenza meditations. He has some really great things from his book, You Are the Placebo. And so I do his meditations. I also do any different way to meditate so that I stop and am mindful for a certain amount of time a day. So sometimes if I'm not in the mood for the Joe Dispenza healing meditations, I'll do chanting or I'll do just mantra meditation. So I do that, and I always, one of the first, we had a practice of doing spiritual pilgrimages before I got sick, and we've met a lot of healers along the way. And one of the healers that I met said, everything that you do, put intention into it. So when you're taking your genetic medicine in the morning, make sure that you're telling your body what to do with it and what it's for. And those intentions, and who knows if they work, but I think that intentionality makes a big difference in that mindful approach. Everything I do, I try and do very mindfully and work with my body to tell it this is what this is doing. And we have a sauna, an infrared sauna, and an ozone jacuzzi that my husband built for me right when I got diagnosed, and it showed a lot of foresight. I use that every day too. Yeah. And whenever I have visitors come and do the saunas with me, because I have girlfriends that's how we get together sometimes now. Yeah. And I always say the sauna is very good at reducing inflammation, because I think the suggestion and that placebo effect, or the suggestion, what our mind is thinking, has a big impact on how well things work. So I usually tell people, this is why this works, this is how this works.
Well, I bought a sauna, an infrared sauna in 1992 or something. So I'm on board with the sauna. Yeah. You mentioned doing the sauna with your girlfriends. You ever asked your girlfriends to meditate with you?
We have the group of people that have attended pilgrimages. We have a lot of spiritual practices such as writing, and we do meditation sometimes, and also just principled living. And sometimes we meditate together. Yes.
Now, where are some of the sacred places that you've gone to?
All over Europe, with France and northern Spain, southern Spain, and that was a lot of Black Madonnas that we saw on those trips. We've been to Asia, many places in Asia, Nepal, Myanmar.
And your children have gone with you to?
Usually we'll follow up as a family. If we're going to go with the kids, we follow up to places we might have been on pilgrimage, and we take them afterward. Yeah, they haven't gone on the pilgrimages with us.
And then the support of your family, how has that been?
Huge.
Okay.
And huge. I would not have been able to do what I've done without them. Just everything from the Atta girls, or when I get discouraged, lifting me up again, but also the dark humor, you know, the levity. There's one joke that runs in our family that they're like, oh, she's going to pull the cancer card now, you know.
Yeah.
I get teased a lot if I am pulling my cancer card, but we've had a lot of good laughs and also meaningful conversations, and I think it's really helped us as a family to focus in on what's really meaningful and what we're about as a family, and we've talked a lot about those things, and I think that clarity has helped all of us just in organizing our day and our life and prioritizing things. And
Do you find like your husband and children are prioritizing their health a little bit more?
I'd say we were pretty healthy as a household before this happened, but we do eat a lot less sugar now. I don't have enough willpower to have it in the house, so I order my son ice cream that I don't like, and he eats a lot of ice cream, but we try and keep other tempting things out of the house.
Excellent, excellent. What are some of the reasons for your unexpected longevity? I basically, how long was someone with stage 4 lung cancer supposed to last? And you're vibrant and active now, so.
Yes, it's. I never found out what my prognosis was. I didn't want a number in my head, and because I think the placebo effect is so powerful, I didn't want to be thinking about that. So, but from what I understand, it was a matter of months that one of my girlfriends has a sister who died in 6 months with the same diagnosis, the same brain surgery I had. So I think it was a matter of months, and I'm going on 4.5 years now. And as I said, we don't really know everything that's working. I'm sure that the genetic drugs that are the Western medicine that I've done have been a very important part of it, but also the fevering and the immunotherapy, which was something I did electively in Europe, helped everything else come, all my immune functions to come back online, and so I think my immune system is working better than it used to. And all the rest, from the supplements to the essential oils and meditation, I think you can't factor how they're helping, but I just assume everything's helping and I keep it all going.
And what advice do you have for people who are interested in taking medicines that are still going through trials, that, you know, where they can take it hasn't been approved, but they can take it at their own risk? What advice do you have for those people?
Sure. My feeling was, well, I have stage 4 cancer. I don't have a lot to lose. And I don't mean that to say people should be reckless, because I think there's a lot of medical practices that people avail themselves of that may not be that efficacious. They may not be that effective, but we're so panicked and desperate that, so I would say use your critical thinking when you're analyzing these things, get references, find out what their results are and what their statistical run rate is.
Well, if let's say one of your team members had an idea, would you run it by some of the other team members?
Yes, yes. My husband's brother happens to be a doctor, so he's on my team, and then I have a close girlfriend who's also a doctor, and we kick a lot of things around. Some of the things I've tried to do is be proactive, so I'm always looking at what would be next. I don't want to be in a panic trying to pick the next thing, so I try and do it before there's a crisis. And so we kick around a lot of options, and my medical researcher, Dr. LaValle, has been very, very helpful because he just combs over all the newest medical research. So he's bringing all the literature to inform our decisions, and that's made me feel a lot better about the choices I make.
And does he work with other doctors, or is he
Yes, he'll work with your oncologist. He won't work with a patient directly because I'm under the care of an oncologist. So he will write suggestions that can be adopted by the oncologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are your daily challenges that you didn't face prior to diagnosis?
I think the main one is every morning I wake up and I'm not sure what is going to be happening with my body physically. Sometimes I'm in a lot of pain, and sometimes I sometimes get nauseated, and so I need to be ready for anything. And the other thing is just to keep optimistic, to keep hopeful. I try not to leave the house in the morning until I am really excited about my day and I have a good sense of this is what I'm going to contribute, this is what I'm excited about, this is my purpose for today. And so I think I'm a lot more purposeful about those things.
And so how do you prepare yourself to walk out that door ready to meet your day? I mean, do you just sit in silence? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you read spiritual literature?
All of the above.
Okay.
A lot in the sauna.
Yeah.
I do some of my meditations in the sauna, and I read spiritual literature, and I read a lot of things about stories about people who have had unexpected healings from very serious cancer, because that keeps me hopeful too. So I do a lot of mindfulness work and reading and prayer. And yes, and then of course the physical things that I do that have sort of a ritual to them that's calming to me.
Well, one of my friends was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, went through surgery, but he was being inundated by people who had, good intentions with all sorts of treatments and stuff. What would you recommend, friends do for their friends when they have cancer?
Yes, that's a I think a really important question. And people are, of course, good-willed and want to help, and when they're making the suggestions. And I think that that's important to remember, is that there's goodwill and good intentions. And I have really appreciated being copied on certain articles that I wasn't aware of. But the advice is hard, especially when you have a medical team of people who've been very mindful and used a lot of critical thinking to determine the direction that we're going to go. And advice can be given without a lot of that research. And so I would say, it's nice to pass along an article and say, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but to say, oh, this worked really well for my cousin, maybe you should try it, when somebody's already on a track can be distracting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass. Well, I hope our viewers pick up on that.
Yeah.
We care. And did you notice, like, relationship? You talked about how your family's gotten better. Have you noticed, like, some of your friendships have gotten better, or some have fallen by the wayside since you've been diagnosed?
I haven't had too many people fall by the wayside. I've renewed some friendships that were meaningful to me, and you realize when you have an expiration date that's looming that these things that are important can't wait. And so that drives a lot of my decision making. I think my relationships have changed by the depth and meaningful conversations that we have now. And I think I'm a lot more transparent. I share a lot more of what I'm feeling, especially the vulnerable feelings. One of the things that I try and cherish the human experience every day, and our human emotions are such an important part of our human experience. So I try not to pick and choose among those human emotions. You know, you can say, well, anger's bad and joy is great, but really being sad or really hurting is a poignant human experience, and I try and have the fullest extent of human experiences that I can have. So I think that has brought my relationships a lot closer because I'm sharing more vulnerable things than I used to.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Do you have any trips planned for the future?
Friday, we are leaving for Bali.
Oh, wow.
So that's our next spiritual pilgrimage with the Wright Foundation, yeah. So.
Oh,
yeah. Judith Wright.
Judith
I
Wright.
think you've interviewed her.
Yeah,
yes,
few times.
Yes,
Wonderful.
She's our leader of the pilgrimages, she and Bob, yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Now, what about keeping up your treatment while you're traveling?
Well, I always travel with everything I do on a daily basis. I continue. I've only missed one coffee enema the entire time that I've been treating this illness. So I do them in every country, in every bathroom. Hopefully that's not too much information for your viewers, but it's something that I think is important and I keep up. And I've just learned how to pack and carry it all with me. I carry a very big bag when I travel. But
well, and I know Judith and Bob, they're very compassionate people.
Yes.
Very compassionate. Well, we got about a minute and a half. What else would you like to tell our audience?
I think one of the main things that I've learned is people think you have to choose holistic or Western medicine, and I don't think of it as an either or. I think of it as a both and. And I think it's really important to curate the things that feel good and work well for you from the whole array of possibilities. I think that that's one of the keys to my success, and I don't think you have to choose a track.
And do you talk to other people with cancer to get a sense of what they're doing?
Yes, and a lot of people call us because I've had some success, and I wrote a guidebook called Decision to Live that's online for anybody who calls us, because we can't give advice to every person who calls, but I copied it all down so that I could give it to people.
And what are some of the highlights of that Decision to Live?
How to talk to your doctor, how to make sure that fear isn't running your life, and how to have meaning in your day. Mm-hmm. And then I have a lot of links for things that people can pick and choose from for their supplements and so forth.
Great. I think we're out of time now. I look forward to continuing this conversation once the cameras stop rolling. For more information about Infinity Foundation, InnerQuest, or Jennifer, stay tuned to the questions at the end. Stay tuned to the credits at the end. Until next time, wish you good health, good fortune, and good spirits.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
We should have you back. I should have said this on camera.
For more information about this show, our guest, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-831-8828.